So I was born in Houston, Texas in 1987. But shortly after I was born, my mom moved us down to El Paso, Texas. And I lived there until I was 8. And then we made the move back to Houston, Texas in 95, which was a huge culture shock for me and my sisters.
So you spent most of your time either from Houston or El Paso for when you were younger?
Yes, from pretty much from infancy up until 8 years old. Yeah, was in El Paso. We would cross over to Juarez sometimes. That's where my family's from.
I was stationed in El Paso, so when I was there, we weren't allowed to go to Juarez.
Yeah, Bliss?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. How come? Because of the dangers?
Yeah, the cartel and stuff. Like it was right when we got there, the cartel started getting bigger and bigger. And
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, we're going to just limit the border crossing and stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's sad how crazy it's gotten because, when I was growing up there during the 90s, it was not that bad. Me, my mom, and my 2 sisters, we would even walk from our house. We would walk over to and cross the border on foot, and catch a bus there to my grandma's house and stuff, and everything was okay. But it sucks what it has come to,
I always wanted to go to Juarez, and I managed to get there one time, but never got to explore anything because I was going to work, took the wrong turn because in El Paso, if you make one wrong and you're not paying attention, you're going to the border regardless. And I got to go to Mexico for like 5 minutes, and that was about the extent of my trip.
It's really nice. I like it. Last time I went was in 2021. Got to see my family, cousins, and everything, and we had a great time. I wanted to stay longer, but time was sensitive. But I like going there.
Yeah, it seems like all the cartel and border stuff is kind of given Juarez a bad name, which has got to drive the tourism market down on them.
Yeah, it sucks.
Okay, so what about after 8 years old? Where'd you go?
So once we moved to Houston in 95, like I said, that was a big culture shock because growing up in El Paso, even the schools were in Spanish because it was just predominantly Hispanics everywhere, Teachers spoke Spanish. Everything was Spanish. So Spanish was my first language. And, my mom hit unemployment, and she came to the choice where she had to either move us to Houston, where she was already familiar, or move back to Juarez. And she told me, because I talked to her a few years ago, like, hey, why did we make such a huge move, El Paso to Houston? That's crazy. But she told me that it came down to that. You would either move to Houston or move us to Juarez. And to her, moving to Juarez would have been just taking 2 steps back. So we made the move from El Paso to Houston, literally like with nothing. We were literally homeless. I talk to my wife about this all the time. We arrived in Houston in December of 1995. We lived in a shelter for a few days till we finally landed a house. And this house, it was more like a shack. We had no electricity at night, and my mom would work late night, so it was just me and my sisters during Christmas time. Once we finally got established and we would always stay at someone that my mom knew. We would always stay with them at their apartments. And so, long story short, we went from all Hispanic, all Spanish schools we landed to like an all black school. So that was a huge culture shock because it was an all black school, nothing but English. I didn't speak very much English. So that was took a lot of getting used to. It took years to get used to, And then, of course, in came the bullying because we were so poor. I started getting made fun of for wearing like the same clothes 2-3 times a day. And like to me, at first, that was normal. I had even done that in El Paso a few times. And, it was never a big deal. But in Houston, I got called out for it by the other kids. And I got made fun of. And I was like, what the hell? I thought this was okay. Turns out it's not, So, well, like I said, man, a very big culture shock.
I moved from Oklahoma, where it was predominantly a white school, and we may have had like three different black families and a couple Spanish families, and moved from there down to Alvin, Texas, where it was almost a complete reversal, and it is a culture shock, and I couldn't imagine the same culture shock on your end, but for me, at least, it was different.
Oh yeah.
But you had the more of the I don't want to say misfortune, but without being able to speak English that well and still learning it, that probably made things a whole hell of a lot harder.
Yeah, it was because I had trouble also understanding the teachers, communicating with the teachers. And then it was 1995. And at Thompson Elementary where I was, again, like the Hispanic population was very low. So like I would try to ask questions and I could tell they would get frustrated, you know. So it was man, it was very difficult, pretty hard.
Did you start winding up and trying to find your own niche with other families like that, or was it just survival?
Yeah, I hate to say it, but it was just survival, man. It was it was crazy. But I mean, eventually as the years grew by, I guess you could say I adapted to everything. Yeah, a lot of the kids I used to, well, not a lot, but some of the kids that used to kick my ass in third grade, uh, we're actually really good friends now. You grow out of it. But no, yeah, it was survival, adapt, and you gotta be strong with it. If not, it's gonna break you at 8, 9 years old. But no, yeah, it was it was adapt. Eventually, everything came around. Couldn't really get close to no families because my mom was just very I don't want to say unstable, but for a lack of better words, unstable, because we could never stay in one place. We were always moving apartment to apartment to apartment to apartment, with this family, with that family, with that family, and yeah, and not to bad about my mom. I love her to death. That's my mother.
Yeah.
I love her to death. But she was just always like in conflict with people, So yeah, there was never any stability. So it was, for me, it was live in your own shell, live in your own world, and adapt.
Adapt, overcome, and pray things get better.
Yeah, pretty much.
So what happened after middle school?
After middle school, things got a little better. Things got better. Simply put, I always had like a childhood dream of one day joining the military. Like it's what I wanted to do. I remember in high school one day reading a story about, just reading a story about a soldier that was out at war somewhere and stuff. And I was just like, man, I would really like to do that someday. I would really like to know that feeling, But like I said, growing up under the circumstances surrounding me, like I never really thought that would be me one day. I never made it past the 9th grade. Not to point fingers, but during that time, I really needed my dad, and my dad was never there. I mean, he was there, but he was not there. You know what I mean? Now that I look back on it at 38, 39 years old, I see that's where I needed my father. I really needed guidance, I needed guidance, support from a father figure. And because I didn't see it at 14, 15 years old, but I was lost and depressed. There were so many things going on. My mom went to jail. Me and my older sister were left home alone for like a whole month. You know what I mean? And that's where I need father to be like, it's okay, I got this. And he wasn't there. So that's when I got lost. Never made it past the 9th grade. I took the 9th grade like two times. And on that third attempt, that's when I told my mom, hey, Mom, I don't know what to do. Maybe I should go to night school and stuff. And she went to take me out of high school and put me in night school, and the assistant principal was there. She's pretty much the one that planted the seed. She told my mom, hey, look, I know this is his third time in 9th grade. I just want to throw it out there. He can drop out, get his GED, and right now the military is taking people with a GED. And I was like, oh, really? Really? Because that's what I wanted to do. So that's what I did, pretty much.
It's pretty interesting how many kids go straight to the military when you don't really have any other aspect to look at. I mean, that's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
I graduated. I couldn't go to college, couldn't afford it, wasn't smart enough for scholarships, not athletic enough, and it was the military. So,
yeah, absolutely. And I already knew if I don't, like, I got to get out of Houston. I told myself I got to get out of here. If I don't get out, I don't know what's gonna happen. Where am I gonna end up? It's so I had to do something with myself. I didn't want to stay with my mom either. She was she's not the person I wanted to live with. So
At a certain time, the kids and parents will clash, and it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
even at points the kid knows when to leave the nest, and
Yeah.
it ain't just going to be healthy.
Yeah.
So when did you join?
I joined in I arrived in boot camp in August of 2005.
Okay, so let's backtrack just a second, because this is going to start being something I'm going to have to ask people. Where were you for 9/11? Did that have any impact?
Yeah, it definitely did. 9/11, I was on I had just started my freshman year. And again, yeah, that's when there was some dark times, because at that point, my again, no father in the picture. My mother was in jail, and my oldest sister, who would have been the second one to take care of me, and my older sister was also in jail. You know, so it was just me and my sister Sonia, my older sister. We were home alone in the apartment for like a whole month till my mom finally made it back. And in the middle of that, that's when 9/11 happened. That's when 9/11 happened, and it did play a role in me enlisting. It made me mad. It's not like we were raised patriotic, but just seeing the whole incident unfold, seeing everything that happened, I don't know why it struck me differently. Different than it did my sister, obviously. And I was like, at the time I felt, this is not right. I need to do something. I need to help whatever way I can. I was only 14. But yes, it definitely stayed with me until the day I signed that contract, and of course, did my thing.
Okay, and you joined in 2005. Where'd you go to basic?
Fort Knox, Kentucky. Yeah. Yeah.
I've never been to Fort Knox. What I have heard of it as far as the basic program is not a fun one. Because was that co-ed or all male?
No, it was all male.
So it was like betting and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, Cav school. Yeah, man, it was hard. It was mind blowing. It definitely surprised me, because my older sister Sonia joined the Army before I did. She's a veteran too, and she went to Fort Jackson, and I was kind of going from what I saw from her, and I was like, oh, that doesn't look that bad, and so forth. And then I joined, and I ended up going to Fort Knox, and it was nuts. It was crazy.
Yeah, let me go to relax in Jackson. Oh, that looks so nice. Oh, here's Fort Knox. Fuck you.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to teach you hard.
Exactly, man.
I got lucky. I went to Jackson, so. No, but I mean, that brings me to how different was it going through basic all males? Because I know with females, it's a certain different. It's different, but it's not necessarily any easier.
But yeah, it's different. Definitely. Well, for me, it was like, I can't really compare it to anything, because even after basic, the unit I was in, all male, it was like growing up with nothing but a bunch of brothers.
A bunch of brothers you didn't know and don't want.
Yeah. And all of a sudden y'all are crammed. But yeah, man, that's what it was. The camaraderie was definitely built. It was cool. Sometimes we would bump heads, but that's normal.
That's family.
That's family. It was kind of like that void in my life, in my childhood, that I never filled. That father figure, not even an older brother, And I think when landing in the Army and in the Cav, filled that void for me. Nothing but brothers, great men that I still speak to today from boot camp even. So to me it was cool,
I think boot camp has that effect on a lot of people, because when you do go in, it's not just a bunch of 18, 19-year-olds. You got some people in there in their 30s that have lived a little bit of life, and then can actually responsibly take that mentorship role that some people never had growing up.
Yeah, that's true too. That's true too, for sure.
But I could also imagine being in an all-male unit, they wouldn't let you slack off too much.
Yeah, no. Man, those drill sergeants were savages, man. I was just telling my wife and kids on yet another story about boot camp. Yeah, it was definitely no slack. I mean, it was crazy. You know how when you arrive in boot camp and you're in reception for a little bit, all the paperwork, and then the day comes and you ship out. Well, when we got to reception, I was because I didn't know. I was like, oh, this is, you know, there's drill sergeants there.
But
So,
they're nice.
But yeah.
They give you that false sense of hope.
So I was like, well, this is not too bad. I'll be all right, man. I'll be okay. You know, whatever. Well, the day comes, and this is the day that completely changed my life. The day comes, and they're calling you out your name. You're going to boot camp. They call my name. I grab my bags, and I'm just walking outside. And when I turned the corner, that's when everything changed for me. Because I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. Finally go to boot camp. I turned that corner, and that's when the real drill sergeants. And I'm never going to forget that one drill sergeant that sees me turning that corner, and he just yells at the top of his lungs, like, if I catch any more of you fucking privates walking. That's all I heard. That's all I remember. After that, and from that point on, everything was just, you know, that's when everything changed.
You never walked again.
Never walked again, man.
Never put your hands in your pockets and never walked on grass.
Yeah.
Well, when we were in reception, that's when I thought it was easy as well, because we would sit there in the barracks and take our canteen bottles and bowl with them. We would set them up like bowling pins and bowl down the lanes and everything. Yeah. But yeah, going from reception to actual boot camp was literally an eye-opener.
Mm-hmm.
So why Cav Scout?
I was stuck between, like, I wanted to do combat stuff, you know, and basically for me it came down to either that or infantry. And I was originally going to pick infantry, but then I read the Cav Scout thing and I saw the video and I was like, so this is kind of like infantry but with a little more logic. So, you know, like, yeah, I'm going to do Cav Scout. My recruiter was infantry, so he started giving me shit about it. And I didn't know about the rivalry between them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not know up until after I made the choice and my recruiter started talking shit. But, you know, yeah, I was more interested with it, the assignments of it, even though we never really did that. But
so what is a Cav Scout?
Cav Scout, basically the job of the cavalry scout is to conduct reconnaissance. Simply put, get ahead of everybody into enemy territory, enemy lines without being seen. Gather all the information you can, visual, audio, whatever, everything, and then you give that information back. So that's pretty much the job of the cavalry scout.
So forward line reconnaissance.
Right.
Cool. So what was your, because I assume AIT did all your A Scout stuff. What was that like? What was the training and the advanced training for that like?
AIT was cool. It was mainly a lot of, weaponry, getting familiar with the weapons, as far as I can remember. And we would have classes on, what was it called? Sketch, like a sketch map.
Okay.
Which is basically you set up an observation point, you and a buddy, and just sketch out everything that you see. It doesn't have to be like a portrait or nothing. Just sketch out everything.
Basically have your degree lines and
right
building over here, just a quick diagram.
Yeah, sector sketch is what they were called.
There you go.
Yeah, sector sketch. Some land nav, we definitely did that. Reading maps, and I don't know how they do it now. But yeah, with the map and the compass, go to the woods and find your way from point A to point B and stuff like that. So yeah, the AIT, the job knowledge of it was pretty cool.
How long was that, like 9-12 weeks?
AIT?
Yeah.
It was like about 9. That's
okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you did about, including reception, 9 weeks in basic and then 9 weeks in AIT, give or take.
Right. Yes.
What was your first duty station?
Fort Riley, Kansas.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the Big Red One was.
Yeah.
Is.
Yep, still there.
What was that like? I've never been to Fort Riley.
Yeah, yeah. Another culture shock. If you're into like hunting, fishing, camping, a very good spot, But I'm a city guy, never did these things. So when they told me in boot camp you're going to Kansas, I was like, man, what's in Kansas?
We're gonna defend cornfields.
Yeah, that's what I was. They started telling me like crazy stories. I still remember. I still don't know what it means, but yeah, some of my buddies were like, yeah, something about children of the corn, and I was like, what is that? But yeah, I remember when I got on the plane and landed in Fort Riley, and I look out the window, and all I see is just like fields and haystacks and cattle. Yeah, and I was like, man, this is hell.
The fuck we doing out here?
Yeah, like damn, out of all the places, man. But eventually I started living the barracks life. Some of my friends from boot camp were there, so we got together, and I had some like country friends that took me with them to fishing and do that kind of stuff. So I learned a lot from them, and it was cool. Eventually you get used to it. But Fort Riley was, it was okay. Got some areas in there that are kind of like, don't go there if you don't know how to fight, pretty much. But yeah, it was okay.
Yeah, some of those redneck bars, you don't want to go in there without knowing your shit.
Yeah, and not just that. Right outside of Fort Riley is the college, Kansas State U. So yeah, I was never involved in one of these brawls, but it was always soldiers versus college students. So I got to witness one, but I didn't jump in, because it was my friends, my friends fighting a bunch of college kids, and yeah, I heard the rumbling and I went up to go see, and yeah, like my friends didn't need any help, and I was like, holy crap, man.
I'll save myself the Article 15. Fuck that.
Yeah, no, yeah. It was they were handling their business, man. Now if I jump in, someone's gonna get hurt really bad. I was like, come on, guys, let's go. I think the damage is done here.
Our job's done.
Yeah.
At least for tonight.
Yeah, never again, man. But yeah, Fort Riley's a nice place.
So I take it you deployed from Fort Riley?
Yes.
Where to?
To Baghdad. So.
About what year?
We left in February of 07.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So did y'all go to Anaconda or?
Falcon.
Okay. That's older than I remember, because they changed a lot of names after I got back.
Okay.
They started changing like Fob Warhorse and stuff to like Camp Freedom and all these other different ones.
Okay.
And so
Falcon, it was in the south side of Baghdad. I don't know if you heard of Airplanes Road.
Maybe.
Yeah. It was too long ago. But yeah, it was on the south side of Baghdad. Falcon, Mortar Magnet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a shithole.
Yeah, most of them were.
Mm-hmm.
But at least by 2007, you would think that there'd be a little bit of infrastructure and upgrades happened.
Yeah, we had barracks with AC.
More than most.
Yeah, so we were definitely happy about that. I know when the war kicked off, they were living like in tents and stuff, and some in trenches. So we had barracks with AC. Cool.
Because even when I got out there, it was 2004 to 2005, and we were basically like one of the second units out. We came out there second to replace the ones that first deployed, and we had Connexes, and they had AC and stuff. Our internet was kind of shit, if we even ever had it. But I'll tell you what, the best thing we ever had was our dining facility. We were always hamburgers, good food, and stuff like that. But the base itself was just a dirt hole.
What fob was it?
That was at Warhorse, and then I was down at Fob Normandy for a while, and that Fob Normandy was more third country than Warhorse was.
Really?
Oh yeah, that was one of those ones where you lived in just a huge room, and they took and built up their own walls with like plywood and stuff, and that's all you really had. Your bathrooms, like your showers were co-ed, but just different stalls. The water was whatever was on top of the roof in a giant barrel being warmed up by the sun or freezing cold at night type thing. I mean, it was primitive, but not horrible. We didn't really necessarily have a dining facility. You just kind of got whatever MREs and stuff, and we didn't really have like a BX or PX there either, like some other FOBs did. So, besides being the usual typical shithole that Iraq FOBs are, how was your deployment? What all did you get to do in experience?
So while we were in Baghdad, it was mainly for the most part, it was like neighborhood patrols, neighborhood watches. Every once in a while, we had, operations where we would supply the neighborhood with propane and stuff. Man, those missions could take up to all day sometimes. A lot of it was convoys, like I said, patrols. We did some raids, arrested some detainees. I spent a lot of time guarding those detainees at the FOB sometimes. I spent some time also back on radio watch. Yeah, we hit the streets a lot and stuff like that. We had a JSS as well. Well, two. I don't know if you're familiar with what the JSS is.
No.
Okay, so JSS was pretty much we took over like us and like the Iraqi police took over like a building. It was like maybe 2-story, pretty nice sized, and we would set up observation points on the roofs and just be there watching the neighborhood. It was manned. The whole place was manned like 24/7. We would rotate with the other platoons. I think we'd be out there for like maybe 2 days. 2 days each, and then the other platoon comes in, relieves you, and so forth. I like doing those. I like being at the JSS because there was stability there. You're there for 48 hours. You know what to do. You know what time is your shift. For the rest of the time, you're just there hanging out with everybody. So, and made some really good friends with the Iraqi police there too. Some really cool guys. But yeah, that's what we would do. That's what we would do at a JSS, like a big observation point, pretty much. Mm-hmm. Close to the end of the deployments, we were just pretty much patrolling at night, which was a blessing in disguise because that's rarely when shit would hit the fan because of the whole curfew thing and everything.
So what were your thoughts on like dealing with the Iraqis? Because you said you enjoyed the time with the Iraqi police and things. Did you have much of like good experiences with the Iraqi people overall, or was it kind of what is kind of being depicted as today?
Well, I'm the kind of person that likes to remember mainly the good things. I do remember the bad experience I had with some of the Iraqi people, but yeah, as far as the good memories, man, like we would be up there in the actual turret and the observation point and stuff. Some of them would come up there and talk with us. We'd laugh. We'd crack jokes and stuff like that. I remember, like for example, I remember I had a digital camera. I was back when digital cameras were a thing, and they would always ask like, hey, madame, like, do you have a wife? But they'd be like, madame, like, yeah, I have a wife. And so I'm showing them pictures. I showed them a picture of my wife and all her cousins. And I was like, hey, that's my wife. So you don't say nothing about her. But it was my wife and like 4 cousins and like 4 Iraqi police guys. And long story short, each one of them were like picking which one they wanted to marry. Which one they wanted to marry, man. And I was like, oh, this is funny, man. And I called my back then girlfriend. Yeah, she was my girlfriend at the time. And I remember I told her like, man, hey, tell your cousins, I got the hookup over here. I got 4, IPs ready to marry them. She was like, hell no. And like when we would rotate, when I'd come back like the next week, they would ask me, hey, how is she doing? Did you tell her? I'm like, yeah, I told her. And they would always ask about them. So I don't know if they were serious, but I know it was funny to me,
So there was a communication gap there. Like do they speak like broken English or?
Yeah, they spoke. Yeah, they spoke broken English. I got another funny story about that. Yeah, they didn't really understand because there was this guy in our platoon that he was known for really bad hygiene. Good guy, but he just smelled really bad all the time. And one day we're up on the roof again, and we're on the observation point in this corner of the roof, and he was on the other corner. And around that time, they had just started giving him the nickname Lenny. I don't remember exactly why, but it had to do with his whole bad hygiene thing. So it was kind of like to mess with him. And they were calling him Lenny. And so the Iraqi guys come over, man, we're talking. And I told one of them, hey, like you see Walden, that was his name, Walden. Hey, you see Walden? And I told him, hey, I'm like, call him Lenny. And so he just screams over at the guy. He's like, call him Lenny. I'm like, no. I'm like, no, just Lenny. Just Lenny. I'm like, no. I'm like, dude, Lenny, just, okay, Lenny. All right. And yeah, I had a huge laugh at that too, but that was the language thing, which again, just made humor out of it because it was funny.
I know when we did tower duty, we had the soldiers from the country of Georgia out there, and the one I had, he spoke no English. So that was a very fun time because you're up in a tower with 8 hours with this dude that speaks no English, and you're watching. We had fields out there, so we didn't really have anything all that interesting to watch. But then another one I knew, once they switched out with each other, he spoke really good English. He was like a martial arts expert in Krav Maga and all this. And he was a very interesting person to talk to because he was part of the war with Russia and stuff.
Oh, okay.
When they were fighting.
Mm-hmm.
So just talking to them for the 8 hours and days over days, it was interesting. And then trying to get through the different language barriers.
Mm-hmm. So was there any communication with the guy or the guys that didn't speak any English at all? Like, did y'all find some ways, anything?
We did, and it was a lot of trying to do like hand signals or just inferencing. But I think what made the time go by faster was trying to figure out how to communicate, which kind of turned itself into its own little game and its own enjoyment. Sure. So I kind of looked forward going into the towers to see who I'm working with and be like, all right, what are we going to try to talk about today? Mm-hmm. So
that's pretty cool. I mean, I know for the most part, anyone we interacted with spoke some English, but we did have interpreters as well. Mm-hmm. Whenever we would go to like the houses and talk with the civilians, we had interpreters for that. And getting to know those guys was pretty cool too, We had this really young interpreter named Don, who also I still keep in touch with because me and him became really close. Me and him were both really young. I was like 19, 20. He had to have been around the same age. So, getting to know those guys was really cool. Working alongside them, and they were like all ages. Some were like in their 40s, 50s, and stuff. So, but working alongside with the interpreters was also an experience of itself,
It's kind of sad because if I remember correctly, a lot of those interpreters were local nationals, and even after they helped us and we kind of started leaving, we kind of just left them there to fend for themselves because once you start raiding so many houses as an interpreter or not, you're going to get known, and word's going to get around that you're helping the American coalition. So,
true.
And a lot of them were just left, just kind of like the dogs that the soldiers used out there for either defense, protection, or even sniffing out certain aspects. A lot of those dogs were just left behind too.
Yeah, which is sad.
Yeah,
that's really sad.
For a long time, I mean, I remember people were doing a lot of different campaigns and whatnot to try to bring their dog back. So some were successful, some weren't.
Damn. I know one of our interpreters moved here to the U.S. shortly after we left. And good for him. Mm-hmm. But the other guy, Don, the one that I still talk to, he's still there. I actually spoke with him not too long ago through a video chat, and he said, I think for a while things got good, but now they're going back to shit with everything, with Iran and the U.S. and all of that. So I was like, well, that sucks, man.
That makes you wonder how long we're going to stay out there and beat our heads against a rock trying to fix a country that either A, doesn't want us there, or B, just wants to keep fighting.
Yeah, exactly. It's a sad story,
So what'd you do, about a year out there, or?
14 months.
That's not bad. And that was your one deployment, or did you do more than one?
No, that's it, because as soon as we got back, that was already my last year in the Army. I had plans, get married, get out, and literally those were my only two plans in my immature mind.
So get back from Iraq, be like, I'm done, time to go. Let's start the family.
Yeah, but with no actual plans. Like, didn't have a career set up, car, house. I just wanted to hurry up, get out, marry my high school sweetheart, and then I thought that was it. So yeah.
Anything else about the military life you want to cover?
I would just like to talk about my out of our 3 KIAs. I definitely for sure would like to talk about my friend Michael Pittman.
Definitely.
Out of all 3 of them, he was my closest friend. I love all 3 of them. I got I got their initials tattooed on me, or here with this battlefield cross. But yes, because I agree with what you're saying, with what you guys are saying. If we die off, so will our stories. And no, man, I love talking about him. I think I need to talk about him more. for a long time, you know, it was hard for me to talk about him. I just kept everything closed. But as I'm opening up more to people, you know, I want to keep him alive. So I met Michael in, you know, Fort Riley, Kansas. He got there shortly after I did. 35 years old, wife, family. And we were in the same platoon and everything. And once we went to NTC in November, 2 months before we deployed, again, I was very young, got into some trouble with my NCOs, you know. I was very just rebellious. You know, at 19, 20 years old, I did not have not a one day of experience in the real world, thought I had it all figured out and everything. So I was getting into a lot of trouble with my chain of command. But the cool thing is that despite no matter how many times I bumped head with my NCOs, all my platoon mates, all of my friends, all of my buddies, they were always there for me. You know, it was never any judgment. They're like, you know, you're cool, Payan, and everything. But what happened with Pittman was special because he did a lot of art and he did a lot of tattoos. And we get back from NTC, and you know, my NCOs and me, we were like at a boiling point. It was about to you can already sense it, man. But I told him, hey, you know, I got a tattoo idea. Would you like to, can you do it on me? He's like, yeah, come over to my house. And, you know, come over to my house and we'll do it. And I got a tattoo on my back, and he's sitting there, you know, doing the tattoo on me. We started talking. And I remember we started talking about all the trouble that I was getting into. You know, and I was just like, man, I don't know, man. You know, I don't know why we just keep up and blah, blah, blah. And we already knew we were going to Iraq. And he told me, he was like, man, if you want to, tell your NCOs to get out of get out of your truck. We already had truck crews assigned. He like, tell them to put you on my truck. He like, tell them to put you on my truck. I trust you. And when he told me that, nobody had ever told me nothing like that before, you know, straight up, you know, nobody. Like I said, boot camp and everything, the camaraderie was there. It didn't have to be mentioned. But just nobody had told me straight up. So I turned around, and I remember I turned around and I looked at him. And he looked at me and he was like, dude, I know if shit goes down, you got my back. And I was like, oh, again, I turned around. You know, I was really young then. I couldn't really grasp it, but it definitely stuck with me. Fast forward to the day that he's killed. And, you know, he was out on a mission that day. And I had to stay back. I did not go with the platoon that day. I think I had like an off day because to make it worse, when he was killed, I was asleep. I woke up and I see everything going on. And I'm like, what happened? And third platoon got hit. What do you mean? Those are my guys. And I look at which truck. I look at the triptych, who's on that truck, you know. And eventually it came out it was Pittman. And for a long time, you know, I carried a lot of guilt. It was just like, dude, he told me that before we left. And, you know, I wasn't there for him. I felt like I let him down, you know. But now that I'm grown, that I've grown over it, it's like, hey, man, some things we just cannot control, you know. And in life, we're going to lose people that we love, people that are close to us. And there's always going to be something that we're going to wish we could have done better. And even though that still kind of does haunt me, it's like, man, I know if he was here or if I could talk to him, you know, he'd tell me, we didn't know. It's all right. Keep your head up. And more importantly, I know he'd be very proud of me, how much I've grown, how I'm not that little immature kid anymore that was just so immature. I know he'd be very proud of me. You know, I definitely wanted to share his story and what we went through and how just life changes you.
What was the name of the other two?
Aaron Genevie was our first one. He died in April. And William Johnson died 3 days before Pittman.
So you guys took a rough hit that week.
Oh, yeah. I remember when Johnson died. It was I mean, every time we lost someone, it was all this fear hit the troop, you know. Everybody. And when Johnson died, I remember talking to a good friend of mine, Hasty. We were just sitting down, and I remember he looks over at me, and he's like, dude, it just makes you wonder, man, who's next? And I'm like, I know. And we would have never imagined that would be answered exactly 3 days later. Yeah, it was June was a rough time.
Like you said earlier, when you go out, we're young, we're stupid, we think we're invincible, and then that first person gets killed, and depending on how close it is to your unit, it does have a psychological morale killer in it. And it starts really fucking with your mind going, that was just one mission. What about the next one? What about the next one? We got 7 fucking more months left.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And then I couldn't even imagine, like 3 days later, another one is killed. And then it just grows even harder and almost like a concrete block to bring you down.
Yeah. I'm glad you say that, because I'm glad I wasn't alone. We weren't alone. I remember when we lost Genevie, the very first one, and we were just quiet, man. And I remember one of my friends started freaking out, and we're like, dude, what the fuck? We still have this much time left. Man, we're all about to start dying. I'm like, dude, don't say that. But we didn't know what to think, because up to that point, we knew it was eventually going to happen, but we're kind of just putting it to the side and kind of just, because you can't prepare for that. You cannot prepare, and when it comes, it blindsides you. And like you said, all the worst case scenarios start coming in. We got so many more missions left, so many more weeks, so many more months.
And it only takes that one person to get that thought in their head of, we're all going to start dying. And then it just spreads like a friggin' virus through everybody. And just, again, it kills the morale, especially for the very next mission.
Yeah.
If you have a mission to go on right after someone just got killed or died even in an accident, your whole morale and your whole motivation for that mission is non-existent.
Yeah, man. Yeah, your mind is racing. Your mind is racing. I remember when Johnson died. The day that he died, I'm back at the FOB, and my first sergeant told me to do it. He like, hey. Again, mind is racing. Did this really just happen again? Did we really just lose Johnson? Because he died like at 4 a.m. or something like that. And my first sergeant was like, Payan, I need you to go down to a squadron. And he needed me to deliver a message or something. I had to deliver something, walk down to the squadron. And I'm never going to forget that walk alone from our barracks to the squadron. I've only told 2 people about this, my wife and my sister. That walk alone, that's when everything came out. And I just started crying. Just that time that I got alone, from that walk to squadron, and I was alone, I was like, okay, just let it out. And I let it out to myself. And finally I'm getting close to squadron. Fix yourself up and soldier up, in other words. But yeah, man, there's so many things going through your mind, everything. You don't really have time to sit down and let it sink in.
And for the time that you do have to let it sink in, like you said, you almost have to do it by yourself. You have to go find that quiet corner and go, all right, let me go suffer for a couple of minutes and then clean myself up, and we got to finish this.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what's crazy about that, man? The reason why I was able to finally bring that out and tell my sister and my wife about that, because it always stayed with me, and I always thought, it's not that big of a deal. But what really helps is letting us know you're not alone. You're not alone. You're not alone. And what really helped me get that out of me finally after years was I read the story, the Iliad.
Mm-hmm.
I read that story, a great story, man. I love that book. And in the point where Patroclus is killed, I don't know if you're familiar with the Trojan. The point where Patroclus is killed, and they're trying to bring his body back, someone sends one of the Greeks to go deliver the message to Achilles and let him know, hey, they just killed your boy, and we're trying to get him back, but the Trojans are kicking our ass, and hey, you need to go tell Achilles right now. And whoever that character was, I forgot, did the same thing. In the middle of the battlefield, the middle of the war, he's walking to deliver that message. But as he was walking, him too, he let it out. And when I read that part, I was like, holy shit, I didn't feel alone. I can relate to that 100%. I understand. Mm-hmm. And it made it easier for me to open up. And that's when I told my wife, hey, you're not going to believe what I just read. I've actually experienced that. And, so that's like the big key, man. Letting people know you're not alone. You're not alone.
The Iliad is a good one. Christopher Nolan's doing it. He's doing a
Oh, really?
3-hour movie. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's actually they got like a lot of big names in it. I want to say Matt Damon again. I mean, he's always in movies getting lost and shit. But no, it's supposed to be like 2 hours and 58 minutes. It's supposed to be this real big thing. When we get done, look it up. You'll probably be going to that one.
Definitely.
Again, Christopher Nolan though, it's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
But I mean, even go back to those times, like even to the ancient times and even Roman. Could you imagine those battlefields and then having to walk another 20 fucking miles the next day?
Yeah. Carrying all the armor and having to fight. Yeah.
I think a lot of the stigma for that, it comes from, like you were saying, we can't necessarily express emotions on the battlefield because it does seep in like a virus. It can kill the morale and stuff, but there's just so many times when you're out there, you do feel alone. You do feel like that the world is closing in on you.
Yeah.
And like I said, unfortunately, not many guys or soldiers, let alone talk about it. And it's usually not until after we get back and out of the service is when you feel the most comfortable to actually start talking about it.
Yes. And, and unfortunately for some, it ends up getting the best of them.
Goes back to that. I would rather just listen you bitch and vent to me at 2:00 in the morning than listen to your eulogy or your obituary.
Yeah.
But I think as guys, we actually had to do that too. We have to get past that that barrier of not wanting to talk about it and not wanting to express our feelings about it because shit sucked. Yeah. I don't care when you went. If you went in 2002 all the way up to even like 2010, 13, it sucked. Yeah. There's no way around it.
Yeah. I talked to some guys recently that, like at the fire station, sometimes we get Army Reserve guys, medics, that come ride with our medics, and I get to talking to them. And one of them, oh, you were there when it was really bad. And he told me, what did he say? I was there, I think he said up to like 2015, he said, But I was like, yeah, I tell him, hey, no, don't knock your experience. It's not easy no matter what. Just because, some guy was there at this time and, this happened, it doesn't make it any easier. I mean, you're still in a country where you're looked at as the enemy, point blank. So no, don't knock it. And if you ever want to talk about it, talk about it.
I don't care if you were infantry, special forces, or a fucking cook.
Yeah.
There's always bad to it. You're in a foreign country. You're number one enemy. Everyone and everything wants to kill you, especially those fucking camel spiders. But everyone had their own experience. And, I think that's one of the things with PTSD, or I think is now PTS, is what we were talking about on the last show, is everyone's journey to have that or to deal with PTSD is different. There's so many different variables that people don't realize. You can't just take one person's experience and say that's PTSD.
Right.
There's a whole lot because someone who saw combat on a daily basis might not have the same effects as someone who was under mortar fire constantly or had that one RPG miss them by millimeters. So I think it really does not need to be lumped into just a singular category. It should be a fluid aspect where you take the variables and everything into factor.
Yeah, right. And yeah, I agree. It's not because people think they hear PTSD and they automatically think, war. Well, it's a big part of it, but you don't necessarily have to go to war to get PTSD. So, everyone has their own experience and everything. So, yeah, like I tell people, man, don't knock it, man. Don't knock your own experience, and share it. Talk about it. Nothing wrong with it.
Well, for those people that want to knock their own experience, all you got to remember is you volunteered to go to a foreign country to fight. There's not a lot of people that do that.
Right.
So I don't care if you're a cook, supply, or a mechanic. You're out there. You did something many people wouldn't do, even in peacetime. Anything about the service? Anything else?
No, that's about it. Good times, bad times.
Oh yeah.
Uh, like any other job, good days, bad days. But I'm happy with it. Couldn't have asked to be around another group of guys. It was a quick 3 years, and I thought it was, in my young mind, I thought it was, dragging. But no, man, it was just a tiny little fraction of my life.
It's amazing how fast life goes by.
Yeah.
Especially as you get older. What was the biggest thing that the Army gave you? What was your biggest takeaway?
My biggest takeaway, I would say, discipline, for sure, because I still do things that fall into discipline. Like I like to be on time. I still follow the whole being 10 minutes early is being on time. Being on time is being late.
Mm-hmm.
I still follow that. I still stay active. Man, if it wasn't for the Army teaching me that, I'd probably be like way just out of shape, unhealthy. I'd probably be like on dialysis or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I still follow that. And yeah, that's one of the biggest takeaways, discipline, that I'm very grateful for.
They seem to be doing a good job on instilling discipline.
Yeah, no kidding.
So you're a fire and EMT now?
Yes, firefighter EMT.
How'd you get into that?
So that was crazy. So I got out of the Army in 2008, and that's when I got married. No skills, nothing. So I spent quite some time working dead-end jobs trying to find something. I always had the whole GI Bill and the VA benefits at my fingertips, but I was just too immature and too dumb to even focus on it. Finally, life had to smack me outside the head and give me a wake-up call one day. And I was like, yeah, maybe I should put those things to use. And I started using my GI Bill to study criminal justice because I wanted to be a cop. So I used my GI Bill, got my associate's degree in criminal justice, and as soon as I got that, I was like, well, time to go apply. Well, that door closed because I applied at this is in 2016. It's different now. I applied at HPD, and they didn't really shut the door on me, but they were like, hey, you got some bad credit. And they were like, we can't take you with bad credit. They were like, at the very least, you got to start like a collection plan with, and come back and show us that you're getting that going. And I was like, what, man? No, man. I applied at the sheriff's office, and they just straight up said, yeah, no. You see your credit score here, buddy? No. And I was like, well, this sucks, man. So, again, I hit another low point because at that time I had my wife and my son already. And I was like, what am I going to do? I just pissed away a good 2 years with this associate's degree. And well, I was sitting there outside of the sheriff's office on a bench, and I was like, well, I got to think of something. I got to think of something. And I was like, well, there's the fire department. Give them a call. Let's see. Because I got to do something. So I Googled the phone number for Houston Fire Department, called them, and I was like, hey, guys, look, as far as the hiring process goes, how are y'all about a credit score? They were like, we don't worry about that. All right, cool. Say no more. And, I started the ball rolling there. The hiring process took a while. Took like a whole year.
Oh, wow.
But, But I got my foot in the door. I made it in. So I got in 2018. And, yeah, I've been a firefighter ever since, pretty much.
It's weird because most people don't really consider you having to have a good credit score to become law enforcement.
Yeah, now it's not, they don't care about that in the hiring process. But yeah, that took me by surprise. I'm like, what credit score? I guess it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense if you think about it. But yeah, it had never crossed my mind. And I was like,
it's like working with an armored company that
Right.
collects the cash. They don't want you to be tempted. I mean,
exactly.
I get it, but damn.
Exactly. Yeah.
What 18, 19, 20-year-old has great credit?
No kidding. Yeah, man, life is crazy, man. That really, like I said, really took me by surprise. It was a very humbling experience. I thought once I get this associate's degree, I'm set, I'm good. And the door shut on me and I ended up being a fireman. But now, I mean, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I've learned a lot, and everything. So
what was that transition like, going from military combat now being a firefighter?
it was harder than I thought, because even though I tried to tell myself before I joined the fire department, I tried to tell, hey man, don't think just because you were in the Army that it's gonna be a cakewalk. And even though I told myself that, in a way, I still had that logic, and I had to learn the hard way. It was very, very, very crazy, because first we had to go through EMT school, and EMT school they crashed it all down to just 1 month.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't make it through EMT school, you're out. So that was hard, because again, I never had any goals to be an EMT. So learning all of that about medicine and medical is like learning a whole different language. That was hard. It was hard for me, learning it and reading and reading and reading. And then once you're done with that, I made it through that. Once we're done with that, then we start fire school. That was hard too. Again, it was like a whole different language. You got to learn the science behind how fire works, how it grows, everything. So the book part was hard. The physical part was not too hard. It was just learning how to adapt to putting all that gear on and breathing through that mask. Because if you've never done nothing like that before, it feels like you're not breathing. Even though you are, it feels like you're not breathing. It's all in the mind. So it was I'd be lying if I say it wasn't hard. It was hard. It was tough.
I couldn't do those masks after wearing mop gears for so long.
Oh, God.
Those mop gear masks were just miserable.
Yeah.
I had one where the filter wasn't put on right.
Mm-hmm.
So you're literally not getting oxygen. And I was starting to black out. And then someone finally realized it, took the canister off. It's like, well, that's why you're not fucking breathing. I didn't know. I'm not the mop guy. This is basic training.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's kind of like that, kind of like the mop gear stuff, which I only messed with the mop gear when we were in boot camp, and that was like one day. Then after that, never again. So, so it was like, it was new. It was completely new. And in the fire academy, they make us go through like how we had the obstacle courses?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that, but in full gear. And they make sure to get you tired once you get to the last stage. And you're going to be tired to make sure, because your air is limited. If you're not breathing right, you're going to run out of air quick. So once you get to the last stage is like, it's like it's a triangle made out of plywood,
Okay.
like this. And you got to go through it pretty much. And it's not easy, because you're not just going to go through it. You have to go in through like this and kind of swim your way through the triangle, and this claustrophobia pretty much. And you're already tired. So that messed with me. I was like, dude, I wonder, what if I run out of air halfway through there? What the hell's going to happen, man? So it's like, it's all like a mind thing. But after a few attempts, I finally got it down, and then it got easy. But yeah, the whole adjusting to the mask part and breathing, man, that was something else for me.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that, if you can learn to control your breathing through like a training scenario, even a high intensity one, then when you're out to the real thing, hopefully very soon, that you can start regulating your breathing properly and not go in there and just panic.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it's for. So, but like I said, after a while, you get used to it, and then they train you on how to be in there geared up, and how to, when you feel the heat, that also messes with you. That's another thing. But I've been doing this already for like 7 years, so I'm accustomed to it already.
Is the camaraderie the same?
Yes, but in a different way,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you definitely have the brotherhood. You definitely build a brotherhood with your station, with your crew, even with the other crews. A little different, because you guys are it's pretty much, you're going through like your own shit, making, whether it's making crazy EMS calls and everything, or fighting fires together. So it's different in its own sense. But the brotherhood is definitely there.
That's good. What's a typical day in the Houston Fire Department like?
That, of course, it depends on the station.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if a typical day in one of the busiest stations that I've worked in. So let's say, because they also rotate you. You know, one day you'll be on the ambulance. Next day you'll be on the engine. Next day on the ladder truck and so forth. Mainly because the run volume for each apparatus is different.
Mm-hmm.
One is busier than the other one, and so firefighters don't get burnt out. They rotate them. A typical day on the ambulance will be you're gonna make a lot of calls. You know, a lot of EMS calls. 90% of them are bullshit. You know, unfortunately, a lot of them are like hobos that just want to get out of the heat or the cold. Some of them are just people who stubbed their toe 2 days ago and now they want to go to the hospital at 3 a.m. Every now and then it gets serious. You will make some serious calls. There'll be cardiac arrests. You're going to see car wrecks where people get, crushed in half. Things like that. Like I said, those are rare, but they do happen. A day in a fire apparatus, you still make EMS calls, but you're not transporting, And it all goes down to the nature of the call, what they tell the dispatcher. Sometimes they feel it's an EMS call that an engine can handle. They'll send an engine. If the engine feels like transport is necessary, they call an ambulance and so forth. But on the engine, you'll make some EMS calls, same thing. 90% are bullshit. And then every now and then, you're going to make some fire calls, and it's going to be serious. You're going to go into a building or an apartment or a house, fight fire. On my rookie year, when I was a rookie, me and my crew, we actually pulled someone out of a fire. And I didn't know how big of a deal that was. I thought we just do this on a regular. But nine times out of 10, when you go to fight a fire, everyone's already left. So I didn't know how big of a deal it was. All I know is, we got there. There was a man laying face down about 10 feet, probably about 10 feet from the door. And, we pulled him out. And next thing I know, my text messages are blowing up because everyone's hearing about it. And I was like, well, this is what we do. But it took time for me to realize, no, this hardly never happens.
Oh, wow.
Like there's people that do like 20 years in the department and they've never pulled someone out. So I'm like, oh, crap, I wish I would have known. I would have been more happy, But, every now and then you're going to make some serious fire calls and everything. You're going to have to fight some fire. We do some training also. If it's like a Tuesday or Wednesday and you don't expect much action, we might do some training as well. Ladder trucks are more chill. Their run volume is not normally as high, but same thing. When they're needed, they'll get to work.
Now, is like summer's a higher month or a higher time frame for you guys? Because I know down here we get a lot of the droughts and stuff. So you're gonna get the brush fires, the fires from fireworks, out of control forest fires. I think we had one last year or 2 years ago. So
right. As far as seasonal, just from what I've seen, just grass fires, and they're easy. When it gets really crazy, it's holidays. Fire wise, Christmas, New Year's, 4th of July, guaranteed. It's you're gonna fight some fire. That's when fire wise, those are the holidays specifically when it gets nuts.
Because I could imagine in wintertime minus Christmas, New Year's, a lot of your calls are going to be people in the cold and basically.
But also, people don't take care of like their heating systems and stuff. And in the middle of the night, boom, something happens, something electrical, and now we got a full-blown fire, in the garage.
So what is all the differences between the trucks? Because you have your ladder truck and then...
So an ambulance is an ambulance, EMS, that box back there is pretty much like a mini surgery room if needed. You got the stretcher and everything. It's, you got everything you need EMS wise. You got tourniquets, gauze, C-collars for cardiac, patients and everything. So as far as the engine goes, the engine is specifically a fire attack apparatus. That's the one that is supposed to get to the scene, pull the hose, and get to it. That's going to be your fire attack group. Those are the ones. That's the primary job. You got different sections of hose for different types of structures, different types of fires. It all depends on the captain what exactly he wants to do. But you got different types of hose, some ladders, because it's very important that once you get to a fire and your attack, it's very important that you get up in that roof, because fire is very sneaky as it is stubborn, and it crawls through void spaces in the walls, gets to the attic quickly. So it has all these tools that the fire attack group can do for their job, which is fire attack. The ladder trucks have a lot of tools too as well. They have the big extension ladder, of course. Obviously, if it's like a high-rise rescue or something, or if you just need to hit the fire from the top. If it's a house fire, you need to hit it from the top. They have a nozzle at the tip of that ladder. Mm-hmm. They can extend it, hit it from the top as well. It's pretty cool. But what mostly fascinates me about the ladder trucks is their tools, the jaws of life. Mm-hmm. We have the spreaders they use for like car wrecks, and it's crazy how strong these tools are, man. I used the spreaders once on a car that was like pretty much like, and I used them, and it did actually move the whole car apart.
Oh wow!
So I was like, wow. And what? That's basically for the tools. That's basically the difference. The tools, the primary job of the apparatus. Everyone is going to have a different job. And one of the main jobs of a ladder truck is primary search. When they arrive to a fire, the engine is already attacking. If, the chief says ladder, whatever, your job is to do primary search. Then they're going in with tools and looking for victims. So it's like every apparatus has a specific job and has their own tools for that specific job. The main key concept is communication, of course.
I was about to say there's a lot of different variables with a fight and a fire and everything, especially in like a residential building, that if you don't have communication, someone's going to get hurt or killed.
Yeah. So that's the big tool that everybody has: communication. Radios, everyone on the channel know what your identifier is. Anything at all, always stay in communication. And it's not just the trucks either. The district chief is always in charge. He's always there overwatching and everything. And it's always like, how in the Army they were like, give me a sit rep, kind of like the same thing. But in the fire department, it's called a PAR, Personnel Accountability Report. And like every few minutes, chief would be like, hey, give me a PAR. How's everyone doing? So
I could almost see the military and firefighters kind of being compared in the same aspect, because you do have to have the specific tools and everything for the job, and everyone has to know their job. If you don't know your job, you're not up to date on the training, again, you're becoming a liability.
Yeah. Yes. And of course the dangers of the job, learning how to work around danger.
So going from combat to firefighting, have you had any negative effects? Has like the PTSD aspects either intensified or nullified any, or do they just have their own aspects to them?
No, it did. I did have a specific triggering event a few years ago. There was this, there was a really huge head-on car wreck in Houston, in the Little York area. And it was, long story short, that car that I said that I had to spread apart. The driver was still in the car, and I had to put the spreaders and bam, 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 bam. And once it opened up, and I get to see, this poor man's, the bottom half, it was just smushed, crushed. You can just imagine. And I got the smell of death, of bloody, gory death. And that took me back, not just to Iraq, but when my friend Pittman died, because when he died, again, I was not there with the platoon, and when they got back, those guys were like, "Hey, the radios are salvageable. Keep the radios." And me and a friend of mine, Woods, we got tasked with cleaning the radios. Like, can y'all clean the radios because they were covered in oil? And I remember we were just very, very quiet cleaning them. The whole thing was just quiet, but we could smell the death on those radios. I can't explain it, And so when I spread that car and that guy's body was exposed, I got that smell again,
There's no way to describe the smell of death, but once you've been initiated to that smell, it will never leave your mind.
Never.
Even the smallest things.
Yeah. And I've smelt it in my dreams as well, and it's real, like it's there.
And it's very distinct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because there's many times we'll be going somewhere and there's a dead animal on the road and you can smell that, but that is... A dead animal's a little bit different from a dead human.
Yeah.
Those smells, you're just like, I know what that is.
Yeah. Yeah. So it took me a while to get over that. I didn't realize how much that incident like messed with me, but it took me a while to get over it. But yeah, that incident definitely messed with me.
Are there any specific calls that you've been out to that you want to talk about, or anything that stands out?
The ones that really stand out the most for me are like medical calls, specifically like patients dying in front of their family, because you get there and they see you with hope. They see a lot of hope, and it just really sucks when you work and you do everything you can, and nothing saves the patient. And now the family has to be informed. Hey, we did everything we can, but they're gone. And hearing the family's reaction is what sucks. But I also love when a call goes good, when we do our job. That's what keeps me going. If we lose someone, I mean, hey, like I said, we did everything we could. Everything was done, and sorry, it's just an unfortunate ending. But what keeps me going are the good calls when we do something. Especially when I hear people complain, whether it's patients or coworkers, how some guys are just so disgruntled. They argue with patients, they argue with people. They're so burnt out. And I take pride in myself that I'm not that kind of person. We made calls like at 2 or 3 a.m. and as minuscule as the reason for the call may be, all right, man, come on. You want to go to the hospital and get checked out? Let's go. That's fine. Cool.
Still have to have that level of professionalism.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I don't know. It's just, I don't like to treat people in a bad way. If you want to treat people in a bad way, or if you want to be rude, then that's not the job for you. I pride myself in that. I had a rookie recently tell me that he enjoys whenever I get rotated and I get placed next to him. And I was like, well, why? Because I'm fairly quiet. I hardly ever say anything. And he told me, no, I like working with you. You don't argue with the patients. You don't give them shit. You take your job serious. And I was like, oh, well, thanks. And yes, I do. So those kind of things are what, make it all worth it.
Well, and you also got to think about it, though. It could be a minuscule call to you, and I'm not saying specifically you, but to the person responding. It might be minuscule to you. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. You haven't eaten yet. You're bitchy. You're tired. But for that one person that's making that phone call, that could be the world to them. And someone walking up, even nowadays with mental health and everything, you walking up to someone who's right on that verge of breaking down, and you have a piss poor attitude. Things ain't going to go well. Whether you're a cop, EMT, firefighter, it's just not going to go well. But a lot of these people, if you show that 1 ounce of compassion and empathy, it can change their whole entire world.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I was about to say, I just watched this one video the other day, and this guy was having a mental health crisis, and he was back of an ambulance with a cop and 3 EMTs. These EMTs were so vicious and vile. He wasn't responding, like speaking. He was like coherent, eyes open and stuff, and wasn't responding to him. And they were just being like, "Tell me your name. Tell me your name. Oh, you're just playing games." And I think at one point they took an ammonia capsule and put it in his nostril rather than like waving it in front. And again, he was awake. He was coherent. His eyes were moving. And it came to the point where they just got tired of dealing with him and kind of went outside of their jurisdiction, dropped him off, and took off.
Holy crap.
He wound up dying only a few hours later. I think like a car hit him or some shit. But it was ridiculous. Out of all that, only one person fired or got quit from their job. Got fired or quit from their job.
God, that's horrible, man.
I mean, just listening to the way they were treated him, I'm like, good night, guys. This is... Yeah. Where's your empathy and compassion? I understand you're tired, but suck it up.
Yeah. Yeah, no, man, that's another thing I deal with, mental health patients. And I just had a 25-year-old lady that was going through something on a few days ago when I was on the ambulance. And the mom called because, long story short, she was taking her over to Ben Taub for psych reasons. And a young lady started just having an episode and started spazzing out and getting aggressive with the mom. And we get there, and the mom was like, "Oh, be careful because she's aggressive." And then PD gets there. And normally, when in a situation like this, it starts into finger pointing between FD and PD over who's going to take her. PD doesn't want to take her. Ambulance doesn't want to take the patient. And it starts into, you do it. I told my partner, "Hey, man, look, the cop is going to do his thing and talk to his boss and see if they got to take her. But if they don't, we can take her." And everybody goes home happy. Mom is worried sick over there, freaking out. Young lady is here going through something, obviously. And if PD doesn't want to take her, cool, we got her. Let's just do it. And he was like, yeah, that's fine. That's cool. And for their own reasons, HPD was like, "Yeah, nah, man, my sergeant said I can't." Okay, cool, no worries. We got her. And I can already tell she was getting uneasy and kind of rude. But once we got into the back of the ambulance and we started going to the hospital, I started just chopping it up with her, like, "Hey, don't, like I said, don't feel alone, I go through this too, as anxiety, depression. I have episodes on my own, and let me tell you what helps me out, long walks, read books, build yourself stronger physically, emotionally, intellectually, get out there, stop the doom scrolling." And she was listening, and she talked to me, and she calmed down. It worked, And
that's what I'm saying, taking those few seconds, few moments just to have the compassion, empathy, probably.
Yeah.
And, for me, a lot of what I do for my stuff is I listen to a lot of music, and that's huge for me. And it truly isn't that hard just to relate with someone. I mean, everyone's going to have a bad day. Everyone's going to get in the dumps. Everyone's going to hit their low point. Now it's just a matter of whether someone's there to help you up or not. And people wonder why the suicide rate is so high among so many different groups. Well, because you don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
They're down on their lowest point, and you want to sit here and bitch about your job that you volunteered for.
Yeah.
Get in your damn car, take the poor lady to the hospital, and go back to work.
And because, God, imagine what that feeling must be like. You feel alone, like everyone left you. Here's who are supposed to be first responders from whatever side, because I'm not singling nobody out. And now they're treating you like shit. They don't want to deal with you. Fuck. So, and I had to talk to this other young lady too. This was a while back. She cut her wrist. She had her third baby on the way. Father was not in the picture. She didn't know how he was going to deal with it. And so I sat down and I talked to her. Like, "Hey, look, let me tell you something. My mom did the same thing. 3 babies, no father in the picture. She's not perfect. She had her breakdowns. But, I told her, if my mom, superpowers. If she can make it, you can make it. You got it. Just take a step back and chill, And same thing, man. The effects of, like you said, having empathy for someone. Just hear them out. Sometimes that's all they need. Just hear them out.
Well, because they're not thinking straight. They're thinking in the moment. Right here, right now, my life sucks. It's not going to get any better. There's no way. And I've said that several times myself. And here I am so many years later going, God, I was a fucking idiot. Look how much better my life is and how far I've gone. And so, and all it does take, again, is just that one person when you're at your low point to go, hey, I got you. I can be your shoulder for a little bit. You need to lean on someone, lean on me. We'll get you where you need to be. So anything else, like we've covered military, firefighter, early life, family therapy, whatever you want, whatever last parts you want to cover.
Yeah, just lastly that well, I'm very, very thankful for this opportunity. I've been very, very closed off, and even sitting here talking with you helped me realize this doesn't just trace back to my military. It traces back to my childhood, you know, that culture shock. And when I was telling you how coming to Thompson Elementary and everything was so different, that's when I started just shelling myself. Well, maybe that's where it started, you know. Maybe that's where and it just progressed as time went on. So I'm working a lot on opening up, you know. I think this was a huge help, you know. So again, thank you guys very much. My wife was very supportive of this, you know. I told her about it. She was like, yeah, go check it out. My wife has been awesome. We met in 2004, married in 2008. And, you know, she has seen me through a lot, thick and thin. She has been there for me, like night terrors and everything. So, but, yeah, a few years ago, I actually put a knife to my wrist. You know, it was that bad. I was at a very low point. But, yeah, man, doing and feeling much better now. So, you know, just, I think that's been the emphasis of the conversation today. You know, just don't ever feel, for people, I don't want people to don't ever feel alone. Get your story out, you know, which is what you guys are helping with, you know, and talk and, you know, let it out, just vent sometimes.
And like we talked to even, you know, during our breaks and stuff, that's what this is all created for, is people sit down and just talk. Because to be honest, people don't really realize how far back some trauma can go, or what the catalyst point is of what's up with them. But, you know, this isn't just for veterans or combat veterans. It's for everybody, veterans, first responders, even the family members. So, I mean, I would love to hear from your wife, you know, what she has to deal with, because a lot of people do forget about the family members.
Yeah. And she's HPD.
Oh, see, now we're going to get the other role.
Yes, yeah, she was HPD, working on the southeast side.
Oh, man. So how's that dynamic between you two then?
It's crazy. Yeah, she's been in for a little over a year now. And we're still trying to adjust. The schedule is the hardest part. The schedule is the hardest part, but it's definitely worth it because when she finally gets off time and I get off time, man, we can do so many things that we weren't able to do. You know, she loves traveling when now we travel. Especially when the kids are at school is the best, you know, because we have just off time, just her and me during the week when everything is not so crowded, so we can do whatever we want. So, yeah, dealing with the schedule is hard, man, but it's worth it in the end. Every now and then we hit our rough spots. Communication is at an all-time low. Affection is at an all-time low. But we always just, ever since the beginning of time of me and her, we always just come back, get it together, get our heads together, communicate, and, you know, pick it up. So,
and that's where a lot of relationships fail, because, I mean, honestly, firefighter and a cop, I mean, I can't even imagine y'all's schedules. I know they're all out of whack and everything, but it's like you said, once you start noticing shit's getting rough, shit's not going the right way it should, just step back, reset, communicate, whether it's lack of communication, lack of affection, lack of time.
Yeah.
And especially with kids, you know, you just really got to sometimes go, yeah, we're both stressed, we're both agitated, work's taking its toll. Let's just step back and figure this shit out and then progress. Because a lot of relationships die right then and there because they don't want to communicate. They just want to stay mad at each other and play the blame game.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've hit some rough spots where I thought it was the end. She thought it was the end. Like it has not been easy, and we were warned beforehand before she started her career, and we knew, and just like everything else, though, there's no way to prepare for it. Just when it comes, and you either deal with it or you don't. Communication. We do couples therapy.
That's good.
Yes, that's helped us out a lot. We're very involved with the Wounded Warrior Project. Those guys have helped us out immensely as well.
Okay, what programs and aspects have they helped you with? Because their name has popped up on the show a couple of times, and I want people to hear from the actual person what all they've helped you with and what programs they do offer for you and your situation.
Okay, they offer several programs for veterans. For example, if you need help getting your VA rating up, they got people that will help you with that will guide you through it. And once you get your rating up to your goal, which hopefully is 100%, they're not like some other organizations where they take a cut. No, all of that is yours. Once you get that back pay, all of that is yours. They don't get nothing out of it. They help you with that. What they've really been helpful with is they have what's called Odyssey experiences. They have male's Odyssey, female Odyssey, where they take the veteran to like a retreat. You get to hang around other veterans. That you'll travel somewhere wherever they take you, and everything is paid off. They cover everything, travel, lodging, food. You're good. You go travel with a bunch of other veterans, and you do little exercises help you deal with whatever it is you're struggling with. You don't necessarily have to, hold hands and kumbaya. If you don't want to talk about your military experience, you don't have to. That's not what it's about. It's about just mental health, pretty much. For us, for my wife and I, they've taken us to Couples Odyssey. They took us to a Wild Ranch. It's a big ranch right outside of San Antonio. We went with other married couples, stayed there for 5 days, and same thing, just a mental health thing. They help you with communication, different things. Family Odyssey. They took my wife and my kids out. We actually have another one coming up here in July, because the first time we went, my baby girl wasn't able to go. She was too young. Now she's old enough. So yes, they're taking us out again, to a Horseshoe Bay Resort in Texas, and same thing. When we went with my kids, it was the same thing. Exercises and drills on how to just come together as a family, kids of all ages. So very powerful experiences. I love what Wounded Warrior Project does. Also, they're the ones that set up the therapy. Mm-hmm. If you need individual therapy help, they'll set you up with that. If you need couples therapy for you and your wife, like us, like me, they'll set you up with that. So there's just a variety of resources and things that they help you with. I got my sister in touch with them about a year ago. She was going through something really hard in her marriage. And I was like, here, I know someone in Wounded Warrior Project you could talk to. And yeah, they took her out on the Women's Odyssey. She had her own little experience and everything. So yeah, this is a variety of different experiences and activities that they lend out.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Might check those out.
Oh, yes, definitely.
But I'm not one for leaving my house, especially with the 2 German Shepherds and whatnot. I don't even like going to a friend's house because it's just not my domain.
Yeah. No, yeah, I understand.
Any final thoughts?
No, that's it. Just, again, thank you very much for the opportunity, man.
No worries. You're more than welcome. I'm thankful that you came on because, without people coming on, I don't have a show, and
right.
People won't hear your story or hear that they're not alone. And I think that is actually the more important part of this, is letting others hear that, hey, I'm not fucked up in my way by myself, or I'm not alone. There's people to talk to, or even just let me go call my buddy and sit and talk to him. So, but no, definitely talk to the wife. I think it would be nice to get her on here because, again, I don't want the main focus to only be veterans. I mean, granted, it's in the name, but we do try to cater to first responders and stuff because it's still a service. It's still a dangerous job. So it'd be cool to have her on the show as well and get her perspective from law enforcement and then the couple's perspective or the wife's side. So,
yeah, true. That is true. Definitely.
All right. Well, on that note, I say we wrap it up. And I appreciate you coming on, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Right on.
Guys to carry their names.